Oh my god, we have a royal flush. That's insane. This might be the first royal of my life. Not joking. I don't even know what to do here. Like, I don't even know what to do. Fuck. I mean, if I ship, he has no hands to call. Yeah, I guess block back. It's kind of bad because I have a royal, but I know that I can't get much money out of it. What? I wasn't expecting to get bluff raised.
All in.
Red line money, I guess. Red line money. Make the graph look better.
All in. Call.
That man's an imposter. That man is the imposter.
We're playing here against this Netfish playing 6 VPIP. Insane stuff. So we're just gonna open any 2 cards against him. Basically what you should do. He doesn't even have to be playing this tight for any 2 cards open to be profitable. And I wonder, how do I play from here, because this is insane, right? Should I call this? Obviously this is a very standard call in normal circumstances, but against this player it might just be a check fold. I'm going to trust that this is mostly variance and he's not actually 6% VPIP, so that I can convince myself to call. Okay, he's not actually 6% VPIP. King 7 suited would not fit into 6% of hands. Very unusual hand here against recreational, where check raise flop followed by a check raise on the turn.
Call.
And he shows up with Jack 10 out of nowhere. So this is one of the things that I mentioned about recreational players. They're going to show up with random hands at times. So trying to put them on a range or trying to so read them into being like, oh, I'm going to fold because he never has a bluff here, typically doesn't work against these players. Obviously I have aces, which is top set and very easy call there. But even if I had a 1 pair hand, it's very hard to convince yourself to fold. Top card pairs the board here, should slow him down a little bit. He's torturing himself into a check, trying to fake some timing till, I don't know. We have a hand that can play as a check or as a small bet. A check is probably preferred in theory, but a small bet should be fine as well. Basically, he can't effectively raise as much because we have all the queens in our range, right? In middling straight hands, they want equity realization. So when your range is protected to the point that you cannot get raised too much, that's a good spot for you to take your middling hands and bet small. So you bet small on the turn, you see the river for a cheap price, and you can check back without facing any pressure. And also you get the benefit of getting villain to fold some high cards that could either outdraw you or bluff you over the next street. So it all fits nicely. But of course, your range needs to be protected with enough strong hands. Otherwise, what's gonna happen is you're just gonna get raised on your face, and it's just not gonna work at all. But when you have a lot of strong hands, you can allow yourself to bet small with your middling hands, and that's great for everyone because your good hands, they want to basically force your opponent to continue, which is what a small size does, right? It forces him to continue with the wider range. Here I 3-bet ace jack off, big blind. Actually I squeezed against cutoff and the button called. Button has a lot of pockets here. I have a middling straight hand worth a small bet, basically trying to get him to call a hand like pocket eights. Finds the raise, so he's wrapping a flush or pocket threes here, given that I have the ace of club blocker. Pocket threes are a few combos which he could have already bluffed. I'm gonna make this call. He's got the pocket threes. Cadeus is 3-betting against a regular who ISO'd a fish that limped. He comes up over the top. In theory here, we can slow play this sometimes. In fact, I'm gonna do just that. I'm gonna do just that because I think this player is capable enough to have some bluffs in his range. If his range was like 0 bluffs, I think just shipping it is the best play. But against a player that I think could have some bluffs, I'm gonna go for the call. And now at this SPR, just shipping it here.
All in.
Yeah, so he did have some bluffs. We hit this flop and then the guy is 14 bigs deep.
Hello there.
Okay, this is God telling me to be grateful. Should be thinking that he only had 14 bigs. Because otherwise, we would have lost everything. Friend Zap decides to 4-bet us. Gonna make the call IP. Let's see a flop.
All in.
We're gonna do this a lot with Ace King, but also with Queens and Kings. And I guess Aces without a heart as well. We can't call, although we would have hit. Of course. Turn is interesting because completes a flush, but makes it less likely that he has a full house. With the Queen of Diamonds, we have to call. Now what, my friend? Bets 20 blinds. He would never value bet the 10 of diamonds like this, so we're essentially bluff catching, and he's not going to be able to find enough bluffs there. So it hurts, but we have to fold. Get rid of his overcards. To get called by worse. He snap calls, make a medium flush. Check back and call rivers is the standard play. Question is, can we value bet here? Not sure what he calls. Guess we can try and get him to call splits. Exploitively. Yeah. I think that's a good play.
All in. Call.
That man's an imposter. That man is the imposter.
All in. Call.
But what the hell, boy?
What is this? And I have a feeling he's gonna win. I have this feeling. 7-4 clubs, like crazy stuff.
Nice.
All in. Call.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
Is back for more. Very rare to get this type of whale. Very, very rare.
Got him!
Interesting, I just played a hand on GTO Wizard. On the turn, it took a slight EV loss, bigger bet size, but on the river, the hand had about 20 more EV than if you played the highest EV. Now, what you just encounter is what we call solver noise. When practicing with GTO Wizard, you're practicing with solutions that are not exactly equilibrium. They have a certain Nash distance. They're still not the true equilibrium. No, those solutions, they still have a certain amount of exploitability. That's why sometimes you might see the solver taking a line and it's not exactly the highest EV, but that's because those EVs are not correct. You know, they're not fully solved. So what you're referring to is, it's not like, oh, the solver took this minus EV line now so it could capture more EV in the future. That doesn't happen at equilibrium. Although it's definitely something to consider in real games, to take a quote-unquote suboptimal line early, so that you can funnel the game into a spot where you believe you're gonna have higher AV. That's perfectly reasonable, and a lot of strong players do that. Hey Solomon, press by long sessions. How do you keep mental energy and sharpness during hours? How do you prep and schedule day? Man, to be honest, it has been surprisingly easy for me to do these sessions. I was even talking to my partners that we have been way too light with our volume requirements inside metagame, because it's just extremely easy to put volume in this pool, like extremely easy. So yeah, I don't know what to say. I don't think I'm special in any way, so I don't know what it is, but for me it has been genuinely very easy to do these long sessions. I think I'm gonna put our friend Barry to the test here.
All in.
Nope.
Nice. Was the emoji. But yeah, when he checks back at that SPR, just mostly ace highs and pockets, and those hands are not gonna call a jam. Oh my god, we have a royal flush. That's insane. This might be the first royal of my life. Not joking. I don't even know what to do here. Like, I don't even know what to do. Fuck. I mean, if I ship, he has no hands to call. Yeah, I guess block back. It's kind of bad because I have a royal, but I know that I can't get much money out of it. What? I wasn't expecting to get bluff raised.
All in.
Red line money, I guess. Red line money. Make the graph look better. I saw our timing tells reliable for both frags and fish. Good luck, good luck. Oh yes, my friend. Well, I mean, for reliable, you gotta understand exactly what you're talking about, right? Timing tells skew the probabilities that you face certain hands in your opponent's range. That's what they're for. So a lot of people mistakenly think of timing tells as some sort of binary phenomena. Oh, this timing tell means exactly this, you know, it means that, it means this or that. No, it's just about probabilities. So this timing tell makes it less likely that he has hand X. This timing tell makes it more likely that he has hand Y, hand Z. And you use that to exploit your opponents, because a small shift in the probabilities already changes what is the highest EV strategy for you. So that's how you should use timing tells, by understanding how they shift the probabilities in your opponent's distribution. That's what they're for. And yeah, I use a lot of timing tells in my game. I became obsessed with timing tells in 2020. Like, the reason why I got obsessed with timing tells was because I realized I was getting exploited with my own timings. And then I was like, what the fuck? People are exploiting this? Let me see what this is about. And then I started researching about it. I saw that there was actually a timing tell tracker back in the day, like 2012, 2013. There used to be a poker tracker that would allow you to track your opponent's timings. And you could see a bunch of very valuable stuff. For instance, how much do they fold to a 3-bet when they tank R5? But then later, that product was made prohibited by all major poker sites, and the company responsible for the software basically died. But, you know, seeing that there was actually a business constructed around that, I was like, okay, this is actually a thing. So started researching it a lot, started implementing it into my game. Became very obvious that it was a huge thing. I started making a lot of money from exploiting timing tails. And then I wanted to basically study them more in depth. So what I did, I coded a grind simulator that would basically mimic the grind experience. And then I put the software for my students at Metagame to grind on. So they would play against bots. Trying to basically imitate a grind setup where I could actually track their timings, and I did that. So the software tracked all their timings for 1,000,000 hands. And then I used that data to understand human behavior with regards to timing tails, right? And then basically the data that I saw confirmed everything that I was implementing myself at the tables more empirically, and well, made me very happy. I continued making money about it, taught a lot of timing tail exploits to my students. And then ultimately I built a course about it, which you can also take a look by clicking the link in the description. So if you want to take advantage of that, click the link in the description. For sure is my best course in terms of potential to give you value. So if you're interested in that topic, definitely recommend to check it out. I would much prefer a big bet on this board. So essentially, these double broadly two-tone boards, when you go small, recall that I said in the beginning of the stream that you should try to minimize the EV of some hands in your opponent's range, right? This small bet, like, it doesn't do anything against my range because the trash is already trash, regardless of the bet size it's going to fold. And then the hands that connect with this board, they actually benefit from the small size because he allows me to realize my equity. Right, so the small size is very ineffective on this kind of board structure because the trash, your bet sizing doesn't do anything against it. You shouldn't really care about the trash on this board.
Hello there.
And then you're not minimizing the EV of the hands that connect. So the optimal bet sizing on these boards is a big size. We have the nuts, so let's go all in.
All in.
Yeah, fuck thinking for balance. I'd rather be homeless. Yeah, I mean, who wants to do that, right? I remember though, there was a guy doing this in live games. I think it was Christopher saying he was doing that in live games. He was even tanking to fold. He got some people mad. Vasarnieks. Vasarnieks. Let's see what you got there, my friend. Vasarnieks.
All in. Call.
The king 4 of club, Vasarnieks. Really, bro? See how fish can be very surprising, right? The guy has played 22% of hands in a 64 sample and just goes bananas. He just goes bananas. Sees a small bet. He's like, fuck, I'm gonna take this pot. So funny how fish works, man. They see a small bet, they're like, oh my god, this is my time. Oh, so good. Seven, 3 deuce, 4 bet pot. Computer probably plays half pot in small bet. I think with this hand in particular, small bet has to be the play. So like, why would I want to size up with a hand that blocks a lot of his draws? Not afraid of anything here. We can bet check this hand. This hand bet check is very, very nice. Because obviously he calls flop and turn with all of his ace-x of spades. Might have some ace-king as well in that range. So bet check functions very well where...
All in.
Okay.
Call.
We would be blocking his draws and blocking his checkbacks. Standard code for a bad spot. Opponent calls, flop 7-7-3 two-tone. Easy range bet for a small size. He raises us, kind of a similar spot to the ace queen off hand that we played against the regular. The hands that would make sense for him to do this: flush draws in some pockets. I'm gonna ship it here with my equity. He has tens, I have like 30 something percent, and he could still have some raise folds. Yeah, 27% against nines. Range betting, queen 6-6 rainbow. This player seems like a recreational. Just gonna go for stacks. We ain't folding. Got both runs, nice. 9-3-3, we see RNG at 95, so we're going to obviously check raise our flush draws some of the time, but we are also going to call, and in fact, calling them about half the time is pretty reasonable. We also have a lot of other stuff to check raise, primarily the offsuit hands with the spade. You know, think of all of the Jack 10 off, Queen 10 off, Queen Jack off, King Jack off, King Queen off with the spade that we have. We have an insane amount of combos. I think good slow playing hands here would be pocket fours, some King High flush draw. With this, I guess it wouldn't be a problem to check, but I think mostly fast playing this one. But again, you surely wanna have some slow plays in your range, and you wanna look for the hands that have the highest EV when slow playing. So you wanna think of hands that, okay, what are the good value hands that I have that when I check, my opponent has less chances of checking back himself? So if he gets here with a king high, for example, he's not bluffing a king high on a paired board with an ace, right? So if he has like king queen off, king jack off, it's probably checking those. So if we have a king high flush ourselves, it makes it less likely that he's going to check because he's going to have some king highs with a spade that will not be reopening. 5-4-4, I think 2/3 or check is fine. RNG very, very low, we're gonna bet, but this is a hand that you can also play as a check here. Perfectly reasonable. And in fact, might be the highest frequency play to play check there with aces. And I'm mostly going to check the turn. Basically here, he always calls ace highs on the flop and he always checks those ace highs on the turn. So that makes my hand incredibly good for balancing my checking range. In river, I go for the check jam. Surely he has some fives here, but not many. So I block his checks and I can get all the money in against the jack. So I think check shove is the play here. He finds the check. He was considering reopening, I guess. His hand might be indifferent, I guess. Against population, you probably want to reopen there with sevens. People don't take this line that I took, for example, with aces often enough. So you're looking at a checking range mostly of ace, queen, ace, king, ace 10 here. And those hands are going to call sometimes. So you can actually get sweet value from sevens, eights, nines if you have them here. So against most opponents, I think the best play is to reopen there with those hands. What? Second royal in 2 days. It's insane.
All in.
Check shoving the ace king in through that pot. Could have check called as well. Check shoving felt appropriate this time. My man is tanking here. He's got ace queen. Yeah. Let's go. 3 times, buddy. You pushed it a bit. You pushed it. Oh, but I'm still waiting. I was almost like, what? No, I'm still waiting. Okay. Shit ain't fair. Look at this. Hitting trips in 3-bet pot. Just because I said it, he's gonna have 6-5. People gonna be thinking I'm a maniac. And I'll just be hitting nutted hands.
How the fuck this guy always come up with the raise? That's insane.
All in.
I mean, I just have the nuts all the time. Shit ain't my fault. To be fair, I'll hit a decent amount of 7x. I'll have a7, king 7, jack 7 off, 10 7 off, 7 6 suited. Pocket 6 has got a call, man.
Call.
And they can't help themselves against Mr. Solo Costa. But I just always have it. And we have a better hand to play. 141 big steep. Something a bit bigger like this is nice. Sunrunner, yeah. Today has been a good ride. Funny spot here. I think all options are viable. Bet, check call, check raise.
Nice.
Then we hit quads on the river. As if we needed more run good. Jesus. The queen is good because it makes my range a bit more bluff heavy, right? I'm not gonna jam aces and kings now. And I still got ace king. So I felt like he could call a bit lighter there. Ace jack 5 rainbow against each bindu. Better luck against him a few hours ago. Throughout the day. Ace jack 5 rainbow, we're gonna play big bet or check. I suggest you guys do the same. Ace sack double Broadway boards, you could simplify to a small size strategy, but big bet or check. It's gonna be a bit more difficult for villain to play against. So basically you take ace 10 plus and then a bunch of bluffs and you bet pot or bigger. 1.2, 1.3x is my go-to. And then you have to bluff some non-intuitive hands, so be prepared for that. To take a hand like 9-8 suited and overbet the flop with, that's perfectly reasonable. In theory approved. Hands like queen 8 suited, queen 7 suited. You're gonna have to take those thrash sometimes and overbet. And you immediately put all jacks and some ace-x in a tough spot. That's the idea. Put pressure to already his second pairs and even some weak kicker top pair hands. Given that poker is a zero-sum game, maximizing your EV is the same thing as minimizing your opponent's EV. So whenever constructing your strategy, you should be thinking about, how do I minimize my opponent's EV? To minimize your opponent's EV, you're going to have to think, what are the hands that I want to minimize the EV of? By answering this question properly, you can get very good at this game. So you should be thinking, given the strength of your opponent's range, which hands are you going to minimize the EV of? That's the question, right? So here, if I'm constructing a betting strategy, what are the hands that I want to minimize the EV of? Well, essentially his entire range is like King X and Queen X here, right? With a little bit of slow play 3X. So you should minimize the EV of King X. To minimize the EV of King X, well, you're gonna have to make King X indifferent. How do you make King X indifferent? You take Ace King plus, and then appropriate bluffs to make your range balanced, right? Here I'm going to give up. I think his range is way too strong. And I'm going to focus just on the value bet. There are some spots where your opponent's range is so strong that you don't need to be concerned with playing balanced. And I'm only saying this because I'm playing 500 now. If you're playing low stakes, you don't need to have any regard for that word. You just focus on exploiting your weak opponents, and that's it. On these limits though, I do have to think a little bit about my own range, my opponent's ranges, so that I don't come up with nonsensical strategies. At lower limits, however, a lot of times nonsensical strategies will print money, so you don't have to be overly concerned. Essentially, just get value from your value, overbluff weak ranges, don't pay people off in big pots. That's it. You can do that. You will make money at low stakes. Value bet big, get greedy. Bluff people relentless when their range is weak. This happens primarily when ranges are wide and they have displayed passiveness. So you should be hyper aggressive in those spots. And when the pot gets big and people show a lot of interest in the pot, just let it go and move on with your life. That's the recipe for success at lower stakes. If you do those 3 things, then there's a very high chance you will be successful. Okay, that's a good flop, especially when a whale pots into you. Yes, he really wants this pot now. Question is, do we jam or just call? Do we think he has enough bluffs to the point that just calling would be higher AV than just shipping? Do we lose any value by not shipping? Yeah, I think he doesn't have any bluffs, and I think we lose value by not shipping.
All in.
The fact that he doesn't snap is bad. Hopefully he will come to his senses and make the call.
Call.
Nice. Jack 7. Yeah, so we would definitely have lost value against that on half of the deck, almost. Nice. Top and bottom. Either run good continues, or he will have queens this time. Queens for him. Just the continued run good.